Hi, everybody. Welcome to Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Daniel Holder.
Welcome to the show. So glad you could do this.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. So tell me about your childhood.
Um, so I was a pastor's son. I grew up in London, England,
Hmm.
and it's it's different to here because I feel like I grew up inside the house, learning the Bible, memorizing Bible verses, singing, dancing with my mom and dad, learning about just life. But then there was a life outside the home, and life in London I feel like it's different. Um, I feel like it's a little, well, I don't know. I've never grown up here, but I feel like it's a little more violent than here.
Interesting.
Yeah, and maybe it's just because of what I was around. And when you're a teenager, you're kind of more attracted to things that as an adult you're like, man, no, let me just leave that. But as a child, you're inquisitive, like, oh, what's happening here?
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe that's why it was so violent for me because
Hmm,
yeah, but
interesting.
yeah, I felt like I had to be very street smart and very aware.
What part of London was it that
I
you
lived I lived in South London, but
South London?
yeah, I'd be all over the place.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
That's interesting. I've
yeah,
been to London a few times. I really like London. It was great. I like, the
yeah,
accent. So I'm getting
yeah.
my life listening to you. What were some of your interests growing up? Just curious.
My interests. So when I grew up, I used to play the piano.
What?
I
I had
used
no
to
idea.
I used to sing.
Wow. You've
Yeah,
been
yeah,
holding out, and I thought I knew you too. Like, come on.
yeah. Yeah, and it's really it's kind of frustrating to me because like my friends that I used to sing with, like I see them like doing awesome things. Like one of them, my friend Olivia, she does the vocal arrangements for big artists. My friend Keisha, you know sings back up, and like all my friends that I feel like I used to sing with, like I probably was never as good as they were. But like I just stopped singing. Like I could have maybe sang a song for you on here, but
Oh.
now I can't. Now no chance on that
Ah, darn.
happening.
So close. So
Yeah.
close. So so your parents were, you know, I guess you had the foundation of like the church. That was definitely something that you were exposed to at such a young age. Would you say that was something that like kind of naturally you're like you found yourself wanting to lean to like, oh, I want to know.
No. So well, I mean, I was in church, but
Hmm.
I always felt like church needs to be different, and I think I got that from my dad.
Uh-huh.
I always felt like church needed to be different, and I think my mom wanted me to be a pastor when I went to college. She sent me to Oakwood University in Huntsville,
Nice.
where I am now, with the hopes that I'd be a pastor, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
He's like, not for me.
No, no, I'll take anything else. I'll literally take accounting just to get away from it. And yeah,
Would you say your calling that you believe as a believer, a follower of Christ, is to kind of show people that the church itself is not the only place to discover who God is?
yes. So I would say that my calling is to help people discover God wherever they are.
Right.
So whatever your situation, in the Bible, in Psalms 34, God says God is near to the brokenhearted.
Right. Right.
So it doesn't say God is near to the brokenhearted inside church if you pay your tithe. If it says God is near to the brokenhearted, and so there's so many people who are upset, who are brokenhearted, and I feel like the church as an organization tries to monopolize that connection with God, and yeah, I feel like that needs to be broken.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, that's what your book was, right? The book that you started that you wrote, I Am Church is
Exactly.
about. That's
Exactly.
awesome. That's
Yes.
awesome. So how was that process writing that book?
It was actually very, seemed, I feel like it was very easy.
Ah, okay.
Like, I wrote the book in about a month.
Wow.
Um, I did about 6 to 8 months of editing,
Nice. Nice.
but I wrote the hard framework in about a month. Um, I don't know if anyone read it, if they could tell that, like, oh yeah, it looks like you wrote this in about a month.
No, I read it. I thought it was a very good book. I was like, oh, this is very interesting.
Yeah, but like, so most when I write, I have to write in my head first. If I write in my head, like, it will just flow off the pen, and the book the book was already in me. It just came out. It just came out like on the first chance of writing. I already showed you how I write with loads of pieces of paper, just part of it everywhere, and I had to transcribe it onto the computer. But yeah, it just came out,
Nice.
and yeah, the editing and the targeting to a specific audience was the harder part.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it's like, where does this go? Like, what platform do I put this on, right? Because it's not
yeah,
like, you know.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
I bet that was interesting.
yeah. Because I was really like, who's this book for? Like,
Right.
who do I want to read this? And now, how do I go through every single page to make sure that every line talks to that person and their experience?
Mm. Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. I always say, to write like writers, it's definitely because I've just gotten, people say, well, you're direct, you direct, you should already know how to write. I'm like, not necessarily, because I just direct a lot of movies, but I've been lately, since of this whole COVID situation, it's been forcing me to write and write my
But
own
you,
scripts.
as a director, you do the part of the writing because you see it in your head.
Right,
You just might not put it onto paper. You put it onto film.
right, right.
you
Yeah.
know, you're a writer. You're a writer. You just don't actually do the writing part. You do the imagination, and you express it in a different way.
Yeah, yeah, then that's I gotta say I commend people who are writers. Like I said, I've been getting into it. I've written like 8 scripts since whole COVID situation. But I'm like kind of surprised at myself. I'm like, wow, I kind of like this thing, but it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
Definitely different.
So you have your scripts to look forward to. I hear you're over there in Wakanda now.
Yeah, well, yes. I'm so glad that you did not just reveal my location. Yes, I am in Wakanda right now. Yeah, I'm laying low for a bit. I left LA because of the whole COVID situation. I
Oh
mean, as
yeah,
of so many people, I mean, it's just all the buildings nothing's open. Things
yeah,
are, and you could eat outside, but not inside yet. So there's all
yeah,
this. It's really slow. It's opening slowly, slowly, slowly. So over here, I'm like, wow, it's like another world. Everything's open. You can go
yeah.
inside. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm,
great.
I'm, I'm actually mad because Keto told me a few days ago, and I just had hired a videographer, and he's coming from Atlanta.
Oh, nice,
But yeah,
nice,
no, I'm glad I'm using my friend, but
nice.
I was upset to find out you were there.
Yeah, and the facility, everyone, and the facility.
I mean, it's big.
It's big. Yeah, no one can just find me. Thank God. Woo. So you've also been to HBCU,
Yes.
and how was that? Because I know a lot of friends that have been there. I've never been to an HBCU school, but all the people that I know that has been there, yeah, their viewpoint's very pro, like
So
um
like
black, and it's great.
I and so everyone's different. I've been to three. I went to Oakwood, ASU, and A&M,
Mm.
and they're all very different. But the community is so much different than at another university. I went to so I've been to maybe 4 or 5
Wow,
no HBCU universities too,
wow.
and the community at the HBCUs is always exemplary to you know, I know people from my HBCUs. Like at the other schools, I just went to class and I went home. You know, but going to an HBCU is you're a part of the community,
Right.
and yeah, I really loved it, and each one is different. Oakwood is so much different to A&M or ASU. ASU is different to A&M, but like yeah, there's so much culture, and you learn so much about African American history. Like going to each HBCU has a different perspective. Like ASU and Montgomery, they the pamphlets for the bus boycotts were printed in their basements.
Oh, wow.
Martin Luther King used to live in walking distance from there. Oakwood University, they were the KKK used to come down and hassle them when they were trying to build it. They used to walk the rocks down from the rock quarry to build their building, so that you get so much in touch with actual history. You know, and A&M started off as a teacher college for teachers, and you know, just learning about your history. I feel like you don't get that
Everywhere. That's true.
yeah.
That's very true.
And then you don't learn about, you know, history as in it's, you know, it's outside. It's your history, so it becomes a part of, you know, your story now.
Yeah.
Because you help to forward, you know, their ideals now.
Definitely.
So I love the community of HBCUs.
Yeah. No, you guys are great.
And the marching bands.
Yes, definitely. You know, do you think it's wrong that their pastors are being paid to have a church? Because even in the Bible, there were people that, you know, were very wealthy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily wrong, especially because that's how I survived growing up. If my dad didn't get paid, I probably wouldn't have eaten. I think it's a natural progression of things. Like, but I think that it leaves room for corruption. Private pastors don't need these private jets. Pastors don't need to, you know, they do things and they change the direction, change the meaning of the gospel for their preference and for organizational influences. Basically, depending on how you pay a person, that's the way the scripture could turn. You know, and I don't think that. I think that it's good to have someone that's not under that financial influence, so they can, so they can be honest.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see how that can definitely lead to corruption because I personally feel like, you know, if you're giving your tithe and your offering, everyone in the church should also be blessed.
Yeah, and it's also very safe.
Right.
Like for someone who feels they're called to ministry, it's very safe to go to a conference or organization and be paid by them. Exactly. What I'm doing, you know, it's right now is very stupid. Faith. My dad told me that faith looks like stupidity a lot of the time, and especially until until it blooms. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm trying to do this ministry thing outside of the context of church. You know, where. And the thing is, like, church pastors, their salary is capped. It will only go to a certain amount.
Right.
As someone in my realm, there's no limit to what you can do. There's no one that controls what you say. There's no one that controls how much you make. And yeah, so right now, I'm not making much, but there's no limit to the
what
potential.
You can do. Absolutely. I like that. You also have this thing called the Outhouse Ministry that you just launched, and I follow it, the page, by the way. Tell us about what that's about and why you launched that.
It's what I Am Church has grown into. Basically, it's based on, is it Psalms 81? So in Psalms, David talks about he'd rather be a gatekeeper in heaven than dwell in the house of the wicked. So I was like, man, it's like, you know, like an outhouse. Like I'd rather be in the outhouse than be in the houses of the wicked. So I was like, yeah, I'm calling my business that house ministry, and what I really want to do is I want to show people that there's a view of God that comes from your personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
So many personal experiences, like your experience. You go into Hollywood,
Right. Right.
God doesn't want that for you. God doesn't want that for your life. But people, there's a you're getting to see a perspective of God from your independence.
Right.
The fact that you're still here is evidence that God was involved in your struggle, right?
Right.
So I think that there's perspectives of God that are evident in every one of our experiences, and unless we share those experiences, those perspectives will die when we do.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I like that.
Theology only comes from one kind of perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
it's usually been the white male, theologian perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's a lot of other theologians that we don't acknowledge, like Ice Cube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This says, when I get to heaven, I won't be called a nigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, many rappers and singers and poets and stuff have postulated on what God is to them, but their musings are kind of ignored because they're not coming from that theological side.
That makes sense. So with the outhouse ministry, what is it that what's like the next step? Are you guys, because I think I saw something about apparel as well. Like you're gonna also
Yes,
go into
yes.
that.
So yeah, let me give you an exclusive. So
All right, hey.
it's going to be my first shirt, and I believe that I wanted to do t-shirts because, like, often when you talk about theology, it can get very complicated.
Right.
You can sound very smart, you can get doctorates, but like if you can't share your message on a t-shirt,
right.
Then it's probably too complicated.
That makes sense.
So this one I thought it was very apropos to what's going on right now. I didn't release it now on purpose, but I feel like with the election of our new president, we couldn't just sit down and pray for it in churches. We couldn't just stay in our cupboards and pray. We had to take action and go to the polls and vote and stand up for our rights. We had to speak. We had to, share our story. And I think that that's essentially the message I'm trying to share with that t-shirt is that sometimes we need to pray, but we don't need to be silent. And too often, the church and Christianity has been complicit and silent.
Now, do you think with what you said about Christianity being silent, with this whole situation happened with the whole, COVID situation, did you, like, I remember hearing about a lot of churches being closed down and no one's open up and no one's really talking. And really, a lot of people are like, well, other places are open, but the church wasn't open. How did you feel about that? Did you feel like, they should have been open, or you think if though even though they're closed, or they could take the message out to the streets?
Yo, to be fair, I'm really glad they were closed because if someone got COVID, the church would be the first place they're going to try and pray it away, and everyone would be infected. So I'm really glad they were closed. And for me and like my outhouse ministries, like I thought it was a really good opportunity to realize that they don't necessarily need the building.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that a lot of churches have been, gathering that. Like, we don't necessarily need a building for Jesus to be there. Jesus is there and it's on this Zoom call.
I gotcha. Gotcha.
So it's really been deploying. Well, it's really began to deploy church to other venues. They've had to rethink how they do church, and church in this current format, it's been that way for hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And the COVID has forced them to rethink how they do church. And I'm glad that I'm not glad for COVID, but I'm glad that church has been forced to level up.
That's interesting. That's cool. Because this whole year, 2020, has definitely been a historical year. It definitely goes down
Yeah,
the most craziest time I've ever seen since I've been alive, and I think
yeah,
even our parents as
yeah.
well. What what was something that brought you through all of this? What was that thing that helped you?
Um, I guess the thing that helped me is the fact that people say trust God, and it's right. You should trust God, but man, I realize that God doesn't necessarily want great things to happen to you all the time.
Interesting.
Sometimes, sometimes you have to burn yourself to
Huh.
receive that lesson, and you have to receive that lesson in order to grow to a place, that you really want to grow to. So like I've really learned to trust, learned like even when bad things are happening, like you know, with when Cheeto and Chief became president 4 years ago. It was really disheartening for many people of my melanin hue. But
Really? Oh.
I mean,
Huh.
I wasn't happy that he was elected,
Ah, I see.
and like now I feel like if he wasn't elected, we wouldn't have had we wouldn't have had we wouldn't have had like we've always said like so many people are okay with racism in America,
Uh-huh.
and now we have the statistics. We have the numbers. I try to like to prefer justice,
Yeah. Hmm.
and I've seen a lot of unjust things being done
Yeah.
on both sides.
Yeah.
No party is great,
Hmm.
but I just
Hope for the
prefer
best.
justice. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you. Hopefully, that's. I guess that's all we can do is just trust in God, and
yeah. And know
yeah.
that just because you trust in God, good things are not always going to happen. Sometimes you're gonna fail. Sometimes you're gonna fall, and just knowing that God is still there. God is still in control. Sometimes you need to fall.
Yeah. Hmm.
Everything that disappoints us doesn't mean that God's abandoned us. Our biggest like our biggest setups happen after a failure.
Mm, that's good. Can you give, I don't know, this year has been such a crazy year, and just for everyone, really. But just our listeners, some advice, whether it's, whatever you want to say, what's on your heart right now during this kind of
For
crazy time.
2020,
Yeah, just some advice to anybody that just listening, some words of encouragement.
you're still here. Like so many people aren't here anymore in 2020. Like so many people got left behind, but you're still here. So that means that you have a purpose, and we have to find what that is. And yeah, and it's not about just existing anymore. We have to find our purpose and make a difference.
How do you find your purpose?
I don't know, man. It's like I feel like I've been searching, like like I read this book I Am Church a few years ago, but I've known that I need to do something like entrepreneurially
Hmm.
for like 6 like a long time. At least since like 2013. I'm still trying to find my purpose. What I'm doing right now, it might not be it, and
Hmm.
that's I think that's a blessing too. Like to do something and for to learn like, oh yeah, that's not it. Like when I graduated from college, I thought my dream job was to be an officer in the Air Force. Like when I got there, I was like, oh, that's not it. I thought that I wanted to be a chaplain in the Air Force. I got there and I was like, oh, that's not it. So to understand what's not your purpose is a powerful part of understanding what is your purpose.
No, I get. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Are you besides the outhouse ministries, is anything else
Mhm.
that you're working in that you would like to share with us, the listeners, and that you have coming up?
No, well, so Outhouse Ministries, I'd love for people to just go there and subscribe, read the blogs, and that's pretty much where I'm pouring all my passion in. I'm really trying to work with my family on it. Um, and yes, sometimes it takes you doing it, and then that they'll catch on later. But
Yeah.
my daughters are watching me. They they my daughter she laughs so hard at our house, like, oh, you can't call it our house, daddy, that means the toilet.
Right.
So
That's
yeah,
funny.
but they pay attention. They like they have yeah they pay attention. So the things I do, like now, writing a book is normal to them.
Mm.
When they play, they write, they make books and write them. So that's normal to them. So the things that we do create normalcy.
Well, it was a wonderful talking to you. Oh my God, it's thank you for coming on, and it was such
Thanks
a
for having me.
great conversation.
I feel
Yeah.
like maybe I know who you are now.
Now you know. Cat's out of the bag. No, yeah, you know me. I'm just I try to be low key.
Except for your high key, like breaking down doors in the film industry. So you're not very good at being low key.
Well, thanks. I will take it. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and it was a
Yes.
pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Yeah,
thinking of me.
of course. Always, always. Thank you guys for watching, and always remember to live, love, laugh.